Well, hi guys, my name is Alexey, and today we're going to talk about how to achieve much more refined, beautiful tone on the clarinet and how it is actually linked to getting a really good intonation. So when you actually strive to get a really good intonation where you pretty much at zero most of the time on the tuner, that's when your tone is going to be much more refined and much better sounding. Now, before I get into the whole concept of beautiful clarinet tone, what is beautiful clarinet tone? Because in general, the word beautiful, or rather the term, is very subjective. To someone, something might look beautiful or sound beautiful. To some other person, that might be completely the opposite experience. But there are certain qualities about clarinet sound that usually kind of tend people to like it more, such as a little bit darker sound, more focused, certain air spin or air force control. Those are the terms and the concepts that you'll hear from many teachers, and they all kind of want to strive for the same thing. So today I'm going to show you how actually to practice and how to achieve those qualities with your tuner that you can get anywhere, like in any store, or actually it's probably easier these days to just download it online as an app on your phone, and most of them are free anyway. Now, before we begin, I'll just like to mention that there are several variables that your sound, of course, is going to depend on, such as setup, the type of clarinet you have, mouthpiece, reed, type of embouchure, and etc. etc. So we'll get into those a little bit later. For now, let's start actually talking about how do we actually create any type of sound on the clarinet. So what we do, we have a reed on the mouthpiece. We press the reed with our bottom lip, so it gets a little bit closer to the mouthpiece, so that it can vibrate against the mouthpiece, and then we send the air that produces the sound. So first thing to think about is how much pressure you apply to the actual reed, because I don't know if you have seen many beginner students, but a lot of times somebody will take clarinet, put it in their mouth, and this will come out. The air goes through, but obviously we have no sound because there isn't enough pressure applied to the reed. Once that person starts applying a little bit more pressure and getting the reed closer to the mouthpiece, that's when the sound will actually come out. So as I'm applying more pressure on the reed, we finally get the vibration happening. Now, next thing is how to control intonation. That's a good one. So think about opera singers versus maybe non-opera singers. So somebody with a little bit whiny, kind of like closed voice, almost like SpongeBob. So yeah, that's basically what we create here. I call it personally a throat mask. I just call it that way, don't quote me. It's something I like to think of because technically, if you think about it, it's the back of our tongue that kind of creates the whole thing there. But it's better not to think that way, because you start it starts messing with your brain, and you think, oh, tongue, what do I do? So it's better to think as a throat. So just think, you can experiment actually without clarinet. You can try to create the SpongeBob voice and try to get it a little bit more into deeper kind of opera singer. So if literally I hold the same note, what did I change? It's the same note, but the quality changed kind of. Well, I kind of lowered things sort of here. Again, that's kind of personal feeling, but I'm sure you can just sing and experiment and you can get it. Again, it's that's how you create that kind of like nice throat mask. Same happens on the clarinet, except it also works with the pressure that you apply on the reed. But just to give a little example, so if I play several notes just to show the difference, I so pretty much opened the mask here, and just like an opera singer, and lowered both intonation and opened up the tone. Now let's look at how it actually works with the tuner. one thing to remember is when you first take the clarinet out of your bag, even though it's right now pretty warm inside this apartment, at first you're going to play a couple notes and you're going to think, oh, I'm fine, I'm actually kind of flat. And the clarinetists, actually, believe it or not, we're always known to be sharp. Most of us are usually sharp whenever we play with the ensemble, and other people start after a while complaining. So to fix that, and just to get back to what I was just saying, is that at first the clarinet is kind of in colder state, the actual wood. So when it's colder, the sound and like the intonation is lower, and then we play for about 5-10 minutes, and suddenly we go at least 20 cents sharp, 20 cents up. So once we're warmed up, and that's how we're going to be playing for the next 15 minutes, half hour, an hour, 2 hours, we're going to be in that realm of intonation. So we need to learn how to lower it. So here we go. I'm going again to start with I'm going to play the second octave D, which is our kind of one of the nastiest notes. It's always sharp, D and C of the second octave. So I'm going to start with typically a little bit more pinched throat, and that's actually, believe it or not, how a lot of clarinetists end up playing, kind of like pinching and biting. So I'm going to lower it just by creating the mask. There we go. So what did I do? I kind of lowered things here, but also one major factor is that you do have to release the bottom lip a little bit. So by releasing the reed a little bit, you're lowering the intonation as well. It's kind of like a combo action of lowering things here and releasing the reed. But the more we release the reed, remember that the more the sound is going to become a little bit. We're going to get to that realm of beginner student who is not getting any sound because the reed is not close enough to the mouthpiece. It's not vibrating. So important thing is to find that kind of golden spot where it's it's not too far from the mouthpiece, but it's far enough so you can lower the intonation. And once it's far enough, to avoid wobbly tone or kind of empty tone, you're going to fill it up with the air, with enough airstream that you're going to get from your support with the diaphragm to fill it up. So again, I'm going to lower the intonation right now and try to get a little bit hollow tone and then fill it up with the air. So I lowered the intonation by releasing the reed, but see, the tone is kind of hollow. It's empty. It's so. That's where I actually get like a nice resonance within the sound. And yeah, so basically you do have to provide a little bit more air and really stay in that mask build up for that intonation position, and with support you're going to get much more refined full tone. Of course, clarinet is not exactly a electronic tuned digital instrument. Some notes are going to be out of tune no matter which clarinet we have or which model. So that's why with the tuner you need to sit down and kind of go through just chromatic scale through your notes and see what's happening. Like for instance, this is my B flat. I already know a bunch of notes that are really not that great intonation wise, so I either adjust it here, or a lot of times I use additional fingerings to usually bring them up a little bit, especially in whatever happens in the first octave. So let's say I'm just going to play through a bunch of notes and show you how I deal with it. So I'm going to start with the D again and actually go down this time. This one is a little bit sharp, so I usually add a couple fingerings to kind of give it resonance and lower it a little bit. That's the B flat. My A is pretty flat, so sometimes I do actually have to add some fingerings to sharpen it. is really flat in this clarinet, so actually often it's almost kind of like a German fingering, German clarinet fingering. I have to press this key actually to bring it up. This is another break that a lot of clarinetists also try to kind of, those notes seem a little bit empty sometimes after F sharp starting from G. So there's a tendency to bite them or kind of like pinch them a little bit to focus, like to get a little bit more air spin. And that's those notes often you'll always find being sharp, such as G, G sharp, A, up until C. So also you actually do need to open them up more and just send enough air to focus them. Of course, you don't want them to be kind of like, you do want to focus them with the air stream. Another open aspect that I talked about at the beginning, I said we're going to cover it later, is your setup. The clarinet model and helps a lot. Its intonation and its sound quality, but the most important in terms of our sound generation and tone quality and actually feeling comfortable or really not comfortable is mouthpiece and reed combination. That's where you kind of have to find what works for you best. What I'm going to do is actually a little experiment. I'm going to try to compare this mouthpiece with two others. Now, I play a little bit not very traditional setup. I play actually German mouthpiece by Italian maker Viotto with German cut reeds by Van Doren. It's a white master. They're especially made for German mouthpieces. I like how it sounds, and I like a lot the control on German mouthpieces. They're kind of like closed, but you need to send air, and a lot of things you end up doing with air. You don't really have to bite much or do different things. But you know, that works for me, and I've been playing on it for the past, I think, 5 or 6 years. And before I was playing on a mouthpiece Dan Johnston, a manual maker, and a little bit of Pine. And before that I used, I think, traditional B40 mouthpiece, and I actually liked it. It was like one of my favorite Van Doren mouthpieces. Also played M15, and those are a little bit closer. And yeah, so what I'm going to do right now is actually take completely this mouthpiece off this reed. And I haven't played on Dan Johnston again for 6 years, but I did dig it out of my shoebox, literally back there. That's where I keep my mouthpieces. And I found actually an opened pack of Van Doren V12 reeds. Let's see, here's one. So my point is that I'm going to change the setup right now, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at my tuner. I'm going to try to get the intonation right, and also focus the sound with the combination of pressing the reed with my bottom lip and the airstream, and find that kind of like golden spot where the sound becomes cleaner and more in tune, and then, you know, go forward with that. Right, here we go. This is Dan Johnston model H3 with V12 4.5 reeds. It's a little bit on the heavier side. Usually I would say number 4 would work better, but that's all I had. So we're gonna work with what we have. So here we go. Nice tone quality, but right now after German Mouthpiece, I'm it's got a little bit too much sand, sort of like air in it. Maybe I'm a little bit too open on it. So what I'm going to do is right now look at my tuner, get the intonation right, and then find the combination of pressing the reed enough and lowering the mask and setting enough airstream to focus the sound. Here we go again. We're going to start with our nastiest note, D, the second octave. The fingering for F sharp matters. The fork fingering is a little bit sharper on this clarinet, maybe on many clarinets than the regular one. So that's what I first used. Again, my point is that no matter what the setup is, you check the notes, because also with different mouthpiece, the intonation is going to change on your clarinet. Believe it or not, different mouthpiece, different barrel, those are all things that affect intonation on your instrument. So you need to check with each change of your setup actually what is going to be and which notes to watch out for. Like now, for instance, with this mouthpiece, I noticed that my upper A and B flat and B, they're a little bit sharper now, while C is still kind of like on the lower side. So I do have to like keep that in mind if I play that mouthpiece. And then the rest I fill the sound with air. All right, let's do another one. Let's actually put the Pine and see how that compares with Dan Johnston, and try to do the same thing. Oh, there we go. Pine Model E. I played on it probably maybe for like a couple months back in the day, and then I switched to German mouthpiece because they were actually kind of similar. Pine is a little bit more closed mouthpiece. So on this mouthpiece, I do have to not to press too much on the reed because it is much closer than Dan Johnston. Right now I'm concentrating as I'm playing notes actually on lowering the mask, but also getting enough kind of air spin and that getting that kind of like core of the sound out of the notes, like to get them like much more meat sort of inside. Thing about mouthpieces and reeds, it's really, yes, it is tone quality, but you know, with this technique you can actually, believe it or not, you can make a lot of setup sound good. The most important thing is almost how comfortable do you feel on certain mouthpiece and reeds. Of course, that's completely different subject, but these days, a lot of times actually, personally, I like all three mouthpieces and reeds. I think they all sound great right now, both Dan Johnston, the German pair, and Pine. But I'm going to go with the German mouthpiece currently because I just feel a little bit more comfortable tonguing on it, making phrases, musical ideas, and actually I have to use a little bit less air. Well, not so much less air, but I don't get as tired playing on it, so I can actually, go through 2-hour recital no problem on it. Well, on these mouthpieces, I remember when I toured it and played chamber and solo concerts, after 1 hour 10 minutes I was exhausted. So now where am I going with this? So with that exercise, you get to establish intonation, you get to know your instrument, your mouthpiece, your setup, how it works, and with that mask you open up the sound, and you're going to get a very nice tone quality as long as you support it with enough airstream. That helps a lot, not just with intonation and your sound gets better, but also legato gets much better, and pretty much everything actually. It just becomes much cooler to play the instrument. So for instance, if you have any like legato passages like the one in Mozart Quintet, you can practice it slowly first with the tuner, check each note, and then start to create the actual phrasing. In fact, you can even phrase in super slow tempo while you're checking the notes. Let's try that. As a review, once again, first thing you do is actually turn on your tuner and check each note after you warmed up for at least 5-10 minutes, because your instrument needs to get a little bit colder, a little bit warmer, and that's where your intonation is going to go up, and that's where it's going to stay. So that's when you need to actually find out how much you need to lower it and how to adjust it well. And the way you're going to adjust it, there are 3 parameters. There's the mask that you create here, creating this nice open resonance, and that's how you lower intonation. To help you lower the intonation, you release a little bit the pressure from the reed on your bottom lip, but not too much. You need to find that golden spot between the mask, the reed pressure, and the actual airstream. That's the 3rd parameter. You support the sound, you get the core out of the sound with the airstream. Enough of it so it's like really gets that nice tone quality even if you're playing piano, so you avoid like a hollow sound. All right, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about this, and if you tried it, if it works, if it doesn't. You can leave the comments on YouTube, but actually the best way to get in touch with me is in the section below the video, where all the description of the video is. There's my website, and the website has the contact form, and there if you just send a message, it goes straight to my email. I check email every minute of the day pretty much. Who doesn't? Cell phones. Yeah, so yeah, feel free just to say hello, or if you feel like this is not enough and you actually do want like maybe some private lessons on it, I do teach online. I mean, I do like Skype lessons and through Google Hangouts, and it seems to work actually for a lot of people. So yeah, shoot me an email, let me know, we can work things out, and keep practicing and keep watching for the next video where I'll continue the concepts of sound and tonguing and a bunch of other cool things. See you soon.